Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Captain Shandy here. I hope everybody is well and staying safe. We are on F1 2020 on PlayStation, the Codemasters game, and we're about to settle into a race here in Canada at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Missed qualifying, hence we're starting from the very, very back of the grid. But without further ado, we'll get underway nice and quickly. And as you can see, there's around sort of 15 people in the lobby. So we are, of course, still trying to get our driver safety rating up. And we do have a new livery as well, which we'll talk about more later. But for now, the red lights are full and they're out and we're off. And we're underway as we get a half-decent start compared to a D-Blade next to us. And we try and find some space through the middle, just feathering it through nice and carefully like the eye through the needle, because people can spin or anything on this opening corner and take your front wing off and it's game over. But we managed to get through unscathed as we just had to brake very, very late to avoid Ekateka. Let's go Ekateka. I can say that. So we had to take avoiding action from him as Raul goes wide and gets punted by Ekateka and ends up off the track. And there was another car spun round facing the wrong direction. Fortunately it ghosted because we went straight through it. So we find ourselves from P15 up into P9, so we made 6 places up before the final chicane. As you can see, it's getting a little bit helter-skelter. I mean, we don't brake in time. That was really poor. That was casual. We went into the back of Ekateka because we just came off the brakes for a split second. Didn't need to. Don't know why I did. I thought he was probably going. I guess I probably thought he was going to speed up throughout exit, and he just didn't. And realistically, I should have just carried on braking, made sure I avoided him. I didn't, and as a result, I tapped the back of his car, and not only lost some time, but I've managed to slightly damage the front wing as well. But he now finds himself going wide out of the final corner. We dive down it inside and cut the opportunity off for him to go back past us, and we have made that stick just about. So not bad driving considering we had a bit of damage. We may have been a bit close to corner cutting, but I really couldn't get the car turned much more, and I couldn't get a decent angle to enter the corner into because he was on the racing line. But behind us, as we pick up a warning for exceeding the track limits, that is a pertinent problem here. As we can see, somebody is in the barrier. They've obviously got more of a problem than extending the track limits, but yes, it is a problem here, getting penalties for cutting corners and track limits. And you can see the two in front did briefly go side to side, although it looks as though Deo just eventually got past. Look at Deji, had the better run. We don't have DRS yet, but they're going side by side again, and we're under some pressure ourselves from Ekateka. I have to fucking take a second before I say that name every single time. And he gets up the inside, and we don't really fight him too much. Don't do a brilliant job of defending. Again, just don't really want to make too much contact. And considering that these guys in front of me aren't particularly quick either, and they're fighting, it's not as though we're really going to fall behind. We can just stick to the back of these guys and wait for the mistakes. So we're on lap 3 now, which means we have the DRS. As we activate that, going down the back shorter straight of the Gilles Villeneuve circuit, and we pick up another exceeding track limits warning. We just need to be a bit careful on that left-hander through that open chicane, and we get it slowed down for the hairpin, being careful this time not to go into the back of the car in front of us. And we switch up into Rich Mix, overtake on, DRS hit, and we are gaining. Even though he's got the DRS open, we find some space to the left between him and the wall, and we make it stick, and we just got too much pace. We dive to the insides, and the car to the left bench, he looked like he ghosted. I needed to leave him the room anyway, just in case he didn't. And in the end, we make 2 very good overtakes, nice and clean as well. And as you can see, look at TG is struggling with Crunchy Monkey. That's a cracking handle, by the way, Mr. Monkey. and we again make it stick as we go through the downhill chicane and find ourselves on the gearbox of Crunchy Monkey. Oh, and we get a little smack in the side from Ekateka. He's pretty aggressive, this guy, but it hasn't worked out for him because, of course, he would have gone into my side. I won't really suffer any damage from that. He will lose part of his front wing, and we get a really good run out of the chicane there. And as we come down towards the braking zone of the hairpin, we're right in with Crunchy Monkey, although we just brake early and decide to back off as we have the DRS detection line here. So just being a wily old fox, playing it careful. And now we use a bit of our ARS. We don't have a lot of it left, but we do have DRS now. We get that open, we get the slipstream, we're in behind, we go to the right. And by the time we reach the corner, we have already sort of got the job done, but we end up cutting the corner. Don't get a warning for it. We got a little bit out of shape there. But nevertheless, we are on to our final lap. We're under a hell of a lot of pressure from behind. But we made our way up into P4. Now, is there going to be any accidents or anything ahead of me to maybe allow us to get on the podium? I think it's unlikely. As you can see, Nexa Artist is out on their own. So unlikely to make a mistake or end up off the track. We are still under a lot of pressure from Ekateka. Right on our gearbox as we make sure we don't get any sort of warning. We just stick to the racing line, we keep it composed, we keep it settled. And he's dived into the braking zone. We let him ahead because again, this will give us the DRS, although we don't get the best run out of that corner as we'd have liked. And oh, we haven't got the DRS. We haven't got the DRS. We're almost out of fuel. And we are out of ERS pretty much. In fact, yeah, more or less completely. So, bad judgment there from myself. Not the best racecraft. I don't quite know how he got the DRS, because he was definitely in front of me over the detection zone. I let him through for that reason. And I don't know if it's a glitch or whether I've made a mistake somewhere there. If I have, please leave a little message in the comments if you spotted any reason why you think that I didn't get the DRS there. But in the end, that's cost us 4th place, and we'll finish in 5th. Still not too bad. That's 10 positions made from our grid positions, so no major complaints over here, people. It's not too bad. Driver of the day goes to Deo. And hopefully we might be okay on our driver safety rating, as we only really went into the back of Ekateka and it was at low speed and it didn't affect his race at all. It only affected mine. Although I must say, I didn't really have many problems with the handling of the car, even with that bit of damage. So whatever it was that happened didn't cause me too many problems. I still felt the car was fairly settled. You can see by the way that I still continued to make my way through the field, that's the car was feeling pretty good. So we watched the winners on the podium celebrating as they're entitled to do, and we'll find out where we are in terms of our safety rating and our driver rating. Sticking with silver, and we go up slightly on our safety rating, 26% now on C, having gone down in the previous race, I believe it was, for seemingly very little reason. But yeah, 5th place. Decent start to the day. So we'll move on to our next race, which is in Brazil, around Interlagos. So just having a quick look at the weather, it's going to be fairly decent both days. So let's crack on. We'll stick with a soft tyre, obviously, for qualifying. We do get the opportunity to qualify this time, which is nice. Hopefully we can put ourselves nearer to the front of the grid and not have to work so hard to get through the field. Hopefully maybe challenge for the podium or even 1st place. But we'll jump in now to qualifying, and we come down to the first turn, which is the left hander of the Senna S, and being careful not to pick up a track warning, because that will get you disqualified from the session, and particularly through that Senna S. Of all the places on this track, probably it's the most easy place to pick up a corner cutting or track limit extension warning. So just being a little bit careful as we come through, not to pick up any warnings like that. Again, through the long right hander, we take that fairly well in 6th and 7th gear, get it slowed down for the tighter right hander and into the long left hairpin up the hill. 3rd, 4th, 5th gear as we come into the tight right hander. Just turned in a little bit early and had to correct, but not too bad on the exit. Decent pace as we come through the long left hander. Now we come to the final corner of the track, the 90-degree left-hander. It's not technically the final corner. This kink as we come through, but it's the first one that we have to. It's the last one we have to brake for, I should say. And we've got some good pace. We get the DRS open. We're in 8th gear, 200 miles per hour. Keep it tight. Cross the line. Where will we be? It looks purple. It looks all purple. So that could be decent. It's always hard to tell until you get the clarification. But yeah, we can see there. We have a 10th and a half over Malky M. So we take pole position. As you can see there's a few disqualifications. No surprises there given the track limits. Excuse me. And we get a second bit of confirmation that we are second. First. And looks like we've got around 15-16 people on the grid, so could be a fair bit going on. And we get ready to jump into the race. Similar conditions, of course, in the race as what we had in qualifying, so no need for a swap of tyres. There was no need to worry about the setup too much. Just go for something fairly balanced because Interlagos is fairly heavy on downforce, some fast sweeping corners. So it's good to get the car stable, but you don't want it to have too much drag, of course, because there is a couple of very long straights as well. Not to the longest on the circuit in terms of the whole Grand Prix season circuit, but do get you up towards the realms of the car's top speed as anyway. So you know it's good to be able to get there nice and quickly. But we count down to the race start as we wait for the last couple of people to join on the server, the lobby, whatever it is. No, I don't really do technology that much, but we do have 5 red lights. That's technology that I can understand, and when they go out, I understand that it's time to leave. So off we go, and we get a half decent start. We do have Malky M up our inside, just giving him the room, and he squeezes us as we come towards the second part of the Senna S, and we just have to duck out of the throttle. Otherwise, we'd have we could have stuck with it, but we'd have cut the corner, and we'd have probably ended up with a time penalty. So just decided to duck out and recompose myself in behind Malky M. Obviously we never got the pace. We were similar pace in qualifying, of course, so as long as I stay on the back of him, then hopefully I'll be able to stay with him, unless he made a mistake in qualifying and he's actually got a lot more pace than he showed, which can happen sometimes. It's happened to me before where people have qualified behind me while setting times, I might add, not through getting disqualified, and then when it's come to the race, I think I've got the same pace and they've just taken off. So you know, let's bear that in mind, that he could be quicker than we thought. But you'd like to think that if we keep the mistakes down, that we can keep the pressure on as we set the fastest final sector. But of course Malky M sets the fastest lap, and this will be our first full lap to see our real pace, and we get a better run out of that corner, and we're closing in on Malky M. We're so close, we could make a move here. We decide against it. We just brake and recompose ourselves again as we go a little bit wide actually, but it feels as though I'm perfectly capable of sticking with Malky M, and it's just a case of picking my moment to try and make the overtake. We're not under any particular pressure from behind at the moment. Crunchy Monkey is there, but he's almost 2 seconds off me, whilst we are just over half a second behind the leader. So we're definitely closer to the front than we are to third place, but at the same time it has to be said I am feeling a little bit of the dirty air, and as you can see Malky is just getting away, and he's almost made that gap up to a second, which is where I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be over a second, because then I'll lose a DRS, and it is going to be over a second as we come onto the first DRS detection zone. It's going to be over a second. We're going to get a track limit warning in our desperation to try and bring that down to under a second and stay in the DRS, but we may have just lost our chance to stay with him right at the last second there, because he got over a second away just before we went on to this lap. We have brought it down to under a second again, briefly. So it certainly seems that through this middle sector, as we bring the time down a little bit more, we seem to have decent pace. We can certainly stay with him, maybe even close him through that middle sector if we get it right. However, as we come out of it and go onto the straights, I'm not quite sure what setup he's running. We're obviously not running the fastest one we can in a possible line. That sentence didn't really make sense. We're obviously not running the fastest possible setup we can in a straight line. There we go, there's some English. And as you can see, he just pulls away and pulls away. If you check the delta at the top left hand side, it just grows and grows and grows until he gets to this braking zone. So we haven't really got it. We're now a second and a half behind him, and not looking particularly like that we're going to be able to reel him in. We've also got Petcock 2003. That's an interesting handle. As we get a warning for exceeding the track limits, we've got him 4.5 seconds behind almost. As Nexus Artist sets the fastest lap of the race actually, and we start to close that gap down to Malky M again through the middle sector. But whether we will be able to hold that or not is yet to be seen. And it always looks like he's got a bit wide there, but we follow him round and we're bang on a second behind briefly. Drop it under. Now, are we going to be within the 1 second detection zone as we come up to this DRS zone? Yes, we probably are. I think that looked like 900 seconds to me. We can see the DRS is available. Is available. So we get on the power, we get on the DRS. It still seems that we're struggling to shrink that gap even with the DRS open. So that's going to be a bit of a pain, and we get that all wrong and have to end up exceeding the track limits. And we don't have DRS. We are on the final lap. We have used all of our ERS. So unless Malky makes a mistake, it's going to be hard. But you can see he did make one, just as I mentioned that, and it's now dropped down to just over half a second ahead. And again, it's through this sector that we seem to be able to close up. So can we get anywhere? Can we get near enough to be in the detection zone and possibly make a move on the final straight? We're really going to have to get right up his backside. We're going to have yellow flags out, as someone's probably come off of the track, but we'll get green flags back. We are within that second, but it's a long run down to the finishing line, and although we have that DRS, we're not going to be close enough. As we go past the back marker, I don't see too many of them on a 5-lap race. He tries to slam into me, not realising that he's a ghost, I reckon. So, nice one, dickhead. That worked out well for you, didn't it? But, yeah. Second place. So that's fourth and second with the first couple of races of the day. Not bad. As we just watch the final cars come across the line. And as you can see, there is our new livery. Doesn't look like there's so much blue on it from the cockpit angle, but when you look at it obviously in the replay cameras and from the side, it's rather striking, rather colourful. I quite like it. So we'll stick with that for a while, I think. As confirmation that we get second place. Petcock has gone to leave the session. Oh, I don't want to speculate why. And we'll just get confirmation of our driver rating and our safety rating, and then we'll move on for one last race and see how we got on there. As you can see, we haven't actually changed our overalls, purely because I forgot. You know, there's no underlying deep reason for that. I'm just a bit forgetful. So we will change those before the next video if we're lucky enough to see me on the podium again in the near future. Hopefully we will look a little bit more like a racing driver and less like a waiter. Still in silver, and the safety rating goes up to 71%. We're not too far off B now. Lovely stuff. Confirmation second place. No penalties for me anyway, and a decent race on the whole, although not the most eventful. So let's skip forward. And as you're about to see, we weren't away for too long because the lobby has decided to vote us back into Canada. As you can see, we've got some new people in the lobby, so it'll be interesting to see what their pace is like. We just checked the weather, looks okay. Normal setup, overcast tomorrow, nice and sunny today. We're going to go for a bit of extra speed, so we did actually do that last time as well, I think. In fact, no, maybe we didn't, because I'm not sure if I checked the car setup before the race, as we didn't qualify. We have done this time though, so like last time in Brazil, let's hope this time we can give ourselves a better chance of a win here in Canada by picking up pole position as we cross the line on our flying lap. And we get it slowed down, and that's a bit of a poor first right-hander there. That's not at all smooth, so considering I've not long been at this track, you'd think I might be able to put together a decent flying lap, but again, we just have to ease off the accelerators. We don't quite get the angle right on the open chicane downhill there, and a little bit wide, just missing the apex on the left-hander. Decent exit on the right-hander, onto the DRS nice and quickly. We're 30 seconds in now, up into 8th gear, and now we have the second chicane, which we take well without losing too much speed, so we are starting to get back into the flow after a shaky start. We get the car slowed down, we're just a little bit wide, but we straighten it back up onto the long straight out of that hairpin to get a decent run, and we hit the DRS and we're up into 8th gear. We're at 195, 200 miles per hour, 205 miles per hour. Can we get it slowed down? Hits the brakes, open chicane, right hand, and the Wall of Champions by a foot or so, and across the line. And again, it's all purple. It's looking pretty good. So despite that initial struggle, we're in 1st. I don't know why the game does that to us now. Likes to give us a little bit of a heart attack and tell us that we're in a different position. But yeah, I was a bit worried there when I saw 8th place. I thought, fucking hell, there's some pace here. I know I wasn't great for the first sector, but I made up for it in the second. And clearly, as it transpires, I did make up for it in the second sector, as second and third sector, I should say, as we managed to attain the fastest lap, put ourselves on the front row for a second time in a row. Let's hope this time we can make a better fist of using pole position to actually get ourselves a race win. It's been a while since we picked up a win. We've been concentrating on our safety rating and just bottling out of every single wheel-to-wheel encounter. But if we can get a decent start and get away from the pack and they start fighting, then we can win the race and not have to worry about any wheel-to-wheel fisticuffs. So, feeling pretty confident here, considering I did do these 3 races in a row, so I hadn't long been to Canada. The car felt pretty good in qualifying. I'm obviously a little bit quicker than my competitors, or at least I was on that particular lap, so let's see what we can do. As we get the clutch down, we go at full revs, the lights are red, they go out and we're off. And what kind of a start is that from Onzil? I think that must be a full start. He was flying past me as the lights went out, so he's obviously willing to take that risk to get himself up ahead of the pack and try and win by a big enough margin to negate the penalty that he'll surely get. But we get up behind Firebro, so not the best start from us going from first place to, as we get a bit of a tank slapper for getting our right wheel on the grass and we lose a load of pace, and we've gone down from 3rd to 4th and probably 5th here. And you can see Spanky Ham has gone into the back of the man in the car in front of him and span him round, and we had to slow down so much to avoid an accident ourselves that we now have been dropped down to 6th. So all that work that we did to get into pole position has been undone, and we have on our left hand side Malky M. So some familiar faces. He gives us a little nudge, and then we've got Petco. We're just trying to find some space. We go to the right. We've got a very, very narrow line here, but we do manage to get past him. Can we get anything to the left? No, we can't, and we couldn't get slowed down in time either. And yeah, we got hit. I mean, it was a bit of an odd situation. It's 3 just doesn't go into that, and there was nowhere else for me to go. I tried to slow down enough. Thought he would have actually come across me before then. To be fair, he didn't, and then I thought maybe he's backed out, but he hadn't, and then before I knew it, he was just flashing across the front of me, and well, Vasco the striker strikes again as he spins himself round and compromises my race as he goes sideways right in front of us. We tried to slow down. You can see the temperature of the brakes there, nice and yellow and orange, so just showing how much we tried to slow down to not hit him, but we did hit him, and now we have some minor damage on the front wing as well. So I think it's safe to say that the start of this race has been an absolute fucking disaster. The fact that we're even still going, it really is a bit of a miracle, to be fair, so let's be grateful for small fucking mercies. But my plan to get pole, well, that worked, but to then pull away from the pack and leave everybody behind and have a nice clean win, well, that just looks like a fucking fairy tale now, doesn't it? Because this has just turned into an absolute shit show. So we're 9th. We're 9th out of 15th, so we're not even in the top half of the bunch, so we're not going to help ourselves on our ability rating, and we've made contact with about 3 different people, none of which any fault of our own, but the game doesn't give a fuck about that. So we're also probably going to get punished on our safety rating due to other people's fucking incompetency. But still, I ain't going to stand here and pretend that I don't make mistakes and that I haven't ruined other people's races, just the same way that I'm not going to stand here and pretend I haven't ruined other people's lives. I have. So, you know, we're all guilty, but it's a bit frustrating to find ourselves back in this position to possibly bring some life to this race. As you can see, we have Ricardinho Pico, decent handle again, who is just over a second ahead, and obviously we have nice long DRS zones here, so if we can get that couple of tenths off him, then we could find ourselves in a position to make a move and go for an overtake. So at least bringing some excitement into the last few couple of laps in this race, even if we're not going to see any glory. As we can see, we have closed right in him. We've got him down to just over half a second now, so it's taken about a second or so. Well, we've taken about a second or so out of him in about half a lap, so we've definitely got the pace. And as we come through the first sector, we are now half a second behind him. It's going to be about picking the time to make a move. We get another warning for exceeding the track limits. Again, we've picked up a few of those without me mentioning, so time to be a little bit careful. Always trickier when you're in the dirty air though as well to not pick up those penalties, just having to adjust for that little bit of understeer that you will get, particularly through the faster corners like the chicane here, for example. And he gets a bad exit and he kisses the wall, and in fact makes it very, very easy for us to overtake. So we don't need to use a DRS, we don't need to put ourselves at risk. He hits us in the back, he's not got himself slowed down in time there. I thought I'd braked a bit late, to be fair. I was going to struggle to get turned in time for that corner before he hit me in the back end. So yeah, he must have been going in a bit hot and forgetting about the fact that he had a car in front of him that he needed to also slow down for. But won't really do us any harm, to be fair. It's only really going to affect him. It's probably him that's lost a bit of his front wing. So all is even now, because we've obviously lost a bit of ours through no fault of our own and no fault of his. But we go into the final lap again, ready to have a bit of a scrap possibly, but he gets a really bad exit out of that first right-hander, and it looks as though we're going to have a fairly simple drive back. Now there has been some accidents and some pit stops and whatnot, so we have actually managed to get ourselves from 9th into 6th, so it's not too bad. We are now back in the top half of the grid, so that helps with our ability rating. I'm not sure our safety rating is going to absolutely adore us for this race, but again, not really our fault. There's not much you can do if someone spins right in front of you, and there's absolutely no time or space or opportunity to get the fuck out of the way or round them or brake in time. Then I mean, what can a guy do? But we come through the final chicane, past the wall of champions. We keep it neat and tidy. There's no need to push too hard, and we see the checkered flag and come across the line in 6th place. I don't think any penalties or anything in front of us could possibly affect our race position. We were a long way off of 5th, 7 odd seconds or so. So that will be the end of our day. So 4th, 2nd and 6th in fairly crowded lobbies isn't too bad, and obviously we've improved our driver rating and in particular our safety ratings, so kudos there. I mean, it still remains to be seen whether we'll be dramatically affected or not by this race in terms of our safety rating. We'll hang about just to find out, but you know, on the whole, not too bad, as we get a decent view of our new car and our new livery. So confirmation of 6th place there, and driver of the day goes to Petcock. I thought he left for a while, but he obviously didn't take him long. He's back again, and a little look at the podium. You see teammates there, obviously, for the top 3. I quite like that. The overalls that in the sort of Belgium colours there. That's pretty snazzy. I mean, that's definitely a very uncool. I mean, even saying uncool is uncool. I'm getting old, mate. I'm not cool. But let's just have a quick look at the driver rating and whatnot, and then we'll go from. I will let you get on with the rest of your day. So you can see our driver rating has gone down back to 35%, so that's fucking ruined all the good work that we did. And confirmation in 6th place. So once again, people, thank you very much for sticking with me today and watching this video. I hope everybody is well, and yeah, look forward to seeing you next time. So stay safe, people. Much love, the captain.